Good morning and welcome to the morning show on WRCO Radio. It's our day to talk about all the things going on in the Richland District. There's always something. It's a good time of year to look back on the fall, look ahead to the winter sports season. And joining us today, Richland District Superintendent Steve Board. Steve, you guys really came off a beautiful musical and really a successful fall, I think, didn't you?
Oh, yeah, it was fantastic. You know, when you look at the success of our extracurricular activities that we had this fall, and you know, with our musical finishing up here in early November, I think that we had over 1,200 folks in attendance over the 3 days. Just really, really good crowds, and kudos to Liz Niemeyer and the Richland Foundation. I know Scott and Lisa Baleen had a big role in it, and so many people had a huge role in it. Credit to our students and families for putting that together, and just really, really some great performances, great crowds, great support, and it was fantastic. So it was really, really something special. I know it's a lot of exhaustion and a lot of time put in. You know, it's funny. You know, whenever there's something really, really big that goes on, people see the end product and they think, "Oh, this is really fantastic." But the better something goes on the back end, the more work was put in on the front end, and so it just kind of goes to show that that was really, really great. But just think about all the time and hours and the people in the behind the scenes that made that thing go. And so that was fantastic. Our fall sports, finished on a great note as well. Our football team had a very successful finish, making the playoffs. Soccer was outstanding again this year. Our volleyball team made a great run and just an extremely close match, getting beat by Aquinas in the regionals, who ultimately won on in the state tournament. So really, really great. Really proud of our students and our coaches and advisors for getting our school year off to such a great start. You don't necessarily have a great school year with a great fall, but with a bad fall, you can have a bad school year. And we really had a great fall, and we're really excited for the rest of the school year.
I would guess participation numbers must be pretty good, because I see a lot of students out there, and just the musical alone, there were 50-some students that were involved in that.
Yeah. Not only are there a lot of students, there's a lot of students doing multiple things. We had a lot of athletes in the musical, a lot of folks involved in extracurricular activities, trying to do multiple things, whether it's multiple clubs, multiple activities, and then high commitment times like sports or the musical. It's just, I don't know how they do it, right? I mean, our students are really special when it comes to their resiliency and their ability to find time to do everything, and then still just be a kid, right? And their homework and all of that kind of stuff. I don't know how they do it, but we have a special group, and we celebrate their successes, because they've really done some great things.
And winter sports underway. We got a chance to see the girls basketball team. Coach Jeremy Cooey takes over the program this year. I thought they looked pretty good the other night.
Yeah. We're here in November 21st, my mother's birthday. So shout out to my mother, and
happy birthday.
But we just had our first snowfall yesterday. I think we were only about 8 days away from breaking a record for the latest first snowfall ever. So it's just kind of now feeling like we're in the middle of that kind of year. Opening day of deer hunting's this weekend. But yeah, girls basketball's been underway. They had their first game. Highland was a team that beat us by, I think, 40 something last year, and we were very competitive all the way through. Ended up getting beat by 8 or 10. So great signs there. Our 7th and 8th grade boys basketball is underway. Our high school boys started this week. I walked into the gym on Tuesday. I think there were 35 or 36 kids out for boys basketball, so tremendous numbers there. Our wrestling numbers are good, both on boys and girls side of things. And I walked through the Commons last night and saw just a bunch of cheerleaders ready to go. So we have a lot of kids. I don't have the exact numbers, but just visually, like, a lot of kids involved. And the winter's a lot of times a time of year where maybe students don't get involved in as many things. They're working, it gets dark later, they don't have rides, all of those different kinds of things. But I think that we have as good of a turnout for winter activities right now that we've had in a long time. So I'm excited again to kind of build off that momentum that we had in this fall and carry that right on and past Thanksgiving into Christmas and then into the spring.
Right now, today, I know there's a blood drive going on, and then also tonight, I think it's International Night for your international students as well.
Yeah, there's just a ton of different things going on, and those blood drives, our student councils putting on International Night. I mean, there's just activities all the time going on, which is probably a good time to just remind people, like if you're ever wondering what is going on in the Richland School District, because there are so many different events, right? And there's events at the primary school with PATTs and family nights and those kinds of things, to the intermediate school, and then a lot of events at our high school as well. Get on the district website, and you can either just hop on a Google search, Richland School District. Make sure you're in Wisconsin. There's also a Richland School District in Washington. We don't want anybody traveling out to Seattle for a basketball game, but Richland School District or richland.k12.wi.us. Click on the calendar. There's a calendar of events on there, and just see what's going on, because there are a lot of things going on. And if family members or just people in the community are wondering, hey, what should we do tonight? Maybe take in an event at the Richland School District in some capacity, or volunteer some time, and we'd love to have you and help support our students and the great things that they're doing.
Thanksgiving is next week. Could you talk about the school schedule, how that's going to work, Steve?
Yeah. First of all, happy Thanksgiving to everyone. This is a great time of year, and certainly a time of year to be thankful for so many things. I know I'm thankful for the opportunity that I get and all the wonderful people, adults and students, that I get a chance to work with on a daily basis. But next Thursday, obviously, is Thanksgiving, so school is typically off Thursday, the Thanksgiving and Black Friday. Traditionally, we've gone to school on the Wednesday, maybe had an early out, but this year's calendar, with the way that we structured our early outs every Wednesday, we actually gained some opportunities for some additional days, and because we didn't have as many in-service days throughout the course of the year, because we have this dedicated time Wednesday afternoons. So with that, we were able to get the entire day Wednesday off school for our students and staff, and that's very beneficial for our students, creating a Wednesday through Sunday nice 5-day weekend for them to travel or bring family in or do whatever it is that makes them happy over the Thanksgiving holiday. But it is important for our families to know and be aware that next Wednesday is not an early release day. It is a no school day on Wednesday. So we'll go to school Monday and Tuesday, full days as normal, and then Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday will be off. So great time of year. Again, deer hunting's this weekend. I think I'll take this as an opportunity to remind folks, this is a really busy time of year, and a lot of people are involved. It's a very our state and certainly our local area, we have a lot of deer hunters. A good time to remind our families and students, one, be safe, right, when they're out in the woods climbing stands and trying to harvest an animal, but also be aware of the things that are in your vehicles, right? It's very common, and it goes, a lot of people don't necessarily think about, I went deer hunting maybe on a Monday morning, and now I'm going to, go pick up my kid from school in the afternoon, or go to a basketball game, or go to an event. Firearms are not allowed on school grounds, and so it's just a good reminder to make sure that all of our students and our families and spectators, we'd love to have you, but just be cognizant of what's in your car to make sure that you're following the state laws, as well as not having firearms on school grounds. But wish everyone a very safe and happy Thanksgiving holiday.
I presume you're going out hunting, Steve?
I will be going out,
All
yes.
right.
I always enjoy opening day and spend some time in the woods, and sometimes I intentionally pick spots without cell phone reception just to kind of get away from it all, but my wife worries, so sometimes I got to be available as well.
Still got to carry it then.
That's right, I do.
Well, good luck with that.
Thank you.
And then the Thanksgiving break, then, is it district policy that everything's pretty well shut down then at the school?
Yeah, so Thursday and Friday, Thanksgiving Day and the day following Thanksgiving, those are our official district holidays. Our employees get those days off. Those are paid holidays for all of our employees that receive that benefit. And therefore, those 2 days, our district will be closed. There will be nothing going on those 2 days. Saturday is other than it being after a holiday, is generally just a normal Saturday. There could be events going on that Saturday. I know we've got some craft fairs this Saturday. Of course, that's different, but that Thanksgiving break, Thursday and Friday, the 28th and 29th, those will be the 2 days when the district itself is closed as a whole. Our district offices and our building offices will actually be open on Wednesday, the 27th, even though there's no school that day.
Okay. Sounds good. I know you're busy working on, we talked about this, but in your line of work, you're always looking ahead. So you're looking at school calendars on the way out in the next couple of years. And how's that going?
Yeah, there's no rest for the weary here. It's just like we get started with one school year and we're already thinking about, the next from a budget standpoint, from a staffing standpoint, from a calendar standpoint. So, typically our board approves two calendar years at a time. So, but last year they only approved at the recommendation of our team, the 24-25 calendar, because we really wanted to see what does this Wednesday early out look like, and how does that affect families, and how are staff able to use that time to benefit student learning and our student experience. And it's gone over really, really well. I hope it hasn't been a huge inconvenience for our families. We haven't heard a lot of concerns or complaints. I think everybody was able to work that out, and I think our daycares have been really, really beneficial or supportive in that role as well. But now we'll be looking at approving calendars for the 25-26 school year and the 26-27 school year. The general plan, this has been presented at the committee levels. It will be going to the board for final approval on Monday, this coming Monday, the 25th. Looking at approving two calendars at a time, 25-26, 26-27, a very similar format to what we've seen this year regarding the early outs on Wednesdays. We may be making a change to the way our EC and 4K look and what days they have off. Right now, those students do not come on Fridays. We may be looking to move that so that they're off on Wednesdays, which aligns with the early out days. Still trying to hammer out those final details before Monday night, but I think folks will be really happy with the calendar as a whole, because one of the asks from our calendar committee, mostly composed of teachers, that we were able to accommodate, or we think we were able to accommodate, is there any way that we could be done without having to go to school in June, right? You get into the June 4th, 5th, 6th. Their ask was, is there any way we could be done before Memorial Day weekend or in May? And I think we've got two calendars that we've been able to accomplish that in without starting any earlier. Of course, state law still holds true that we can't start until after September 1st, on or after September 1st. Labor Day is always really early in September, that first Monday, and so we've got to work around that. But without sacrificing a lot of time. So very similar format to what we're doing over Christmas break, Thanksgiving break, and keeping a week of spring break at the end of March. We were able to come up with a calendar that allows us to get done in May. And so I think that would be really great for our students and our staff and our families to allow them to get out of school and start the summer off, before June hits. Of course, weather delays, and we're still obligated to have a certain number of minutes of instruction for all of them. So those kinds of things could impact that, but our base calendar, I think, will accomplish that. And I'm excited to reveal that.
Yeah, I just wonder how many times you'll be calling me about school delays, or hopefully, and nothing against you, but hopefully we don't hear from you very much.
That's right. I hope not. Mr. Bosworth will be making that call most of the time, but I did have to set my alarm here this morning at 5:00 just to make sure that we didn't get more bad weather than I thought we were going to. So it's this time of year. It's also probably a great time to remind folks that as we do get into the winter months, again, I think I mentioned this the last time I was here, but we have 4 official forms of communication. We will call WRCO. That will be one of the very first phone calls we make, and then we notify the 3 Madison news stations, Channel 3, Channel 15, and Channel 27 out of Madison. And those are our 4 official modes of communication. So while we may use Facebook or email or post something on our website, I would encourage everyone, students, staff, families, if they are ever concerned about whether or not their school, listen to WRCO, check WRCO's website, watch those 3 Madison news stations and the tickers across the bottom, and that's where they'll get their official information.
Yeah, and we can update it quicker here locally too as well.
Absolutely, yeah. And as far as time frame, we typically, if there's going to be a cancellation or a delay, we would typically, obviously, we would make that call as soon as it's we know for sure, right? But our goal is to get kids in school, not to get kids out of school. And so if there's a safe way to get students to school, we're going to more than likely have school. But usually in that 5:30 to 6 a.m. window, that's when we would make that call in the morning. If folks haven't heard anything by 6 or 6:05, that's about the time our first buses are on the road, they probably won't hear it. If we have a delay, then of course they've got to check again between 7:30 and 8 o'clock. It would be a 2-hour delay just to make sure that delay hasn't turned into a cancellation because weather has stuck around a little longer than we thought, or we needed to wait till daylight to see what the county crews could do for our side roads, things like that. And if it's taken them a little longer to get things cleaned up than what was anticipated, then we may have a delay turn into a cancellation. As far as an early out, if there's a time where snow is coming in quicker, inclement weather's coming in sooner, and we've got to get students home sooner than their normal release time, WRCO is the spot to go for that. I mean, we will again notify our 3 Madison news stations, but that's going to be your best source as far as what's happening with school, listening to WRCO, getting on their website, between that 11, 12, 1 p.m. mark. That will be the time that we'll be making that call. Of course, that can happen at any time, right? I mean, we can get students there, and all of a sudden, rain turns to ice at 11 a.m., and we've got to make a decision quickly and move quickly. So I know that all of our families and students are real flexible when it comes to that. It's not always convenient, but Cobeson and everybody around is just real supportive in the role that they play in those weather delays. They're not fun calls to make. Oftentimes we're deciding on what we think is going to happen based on the information we're getting. It's not always accurate, but again, our goal is to get students in school, but we want them to be safe and we want them to be able to get home safely.
Getting back to the school calendar too, I know that you have some projects still through the referendum, doing some work on any chance that the school year might change. Maybe if you're going to be working earlier in the school year or later in the summer. Yeah,
the proposal for 25-26 is to not to do anything differently there. We've been working closely with the referendum project. We've got a pretty good timeline for next summer. Major construction. The focus of construction will be at the primary school next summer. Our biggest concern is fixing those sinking classrooms on the southwest corner occupied by our kindergarten classrooms. So we've kind of shifted kind of a primary intermediate school construction window for next summer to entirely primary. And so that will be where the majority of site work will be done. We are not anticipating having to get out of school earlier this next spring. They are planning on starting construction, getting things on site the day after students are out, and then working diligently through the summer. Obviously, that will impact our summer and things like that. Summer school will still be at the high school. For the start of the school next fall, we anticipate school being on time, all of our students starting early in September as normal. The one exception might be the 4 kindergarten classrooms that are basically getting tore down and built back up. And they're going to be beautiful when they're done, but we've got to shore up that foundation of those 4 classrooms. We're planning for those 4 classrooms to not be ready for the start of school. We'll find a way to get students to school, maybe at an alternate location. The hope would be that it's within the primary school so that students can just continue to go to school at the buildings that they're used to. But we may need to call an audible early in September and try to get students to a different location. We'll know much more as the summer progresses on that, but we will be starting school on time. We just might have a little bit of an impact on those 4 classrooms and where they're doing their learning when school starts. And that could be, we could be completely on time and ready to go if everything goes according to plan. It could be just a few weeks into September, early part of October that we've got to relocate kids within the building. And it could push all the way to this time of year next year. There's just a lot of unknowns with that particular area because of the soil and because of the construction and tying it in to the existing building. So that's probably the one unknown, but otherwise we fully anticipate next spring, ending as it sits right now on time. I think it's June 3rd, and then starting school in early September as it's planned.
Awesome. Yeah, you aren't having any kids slide down, like
we don't want that.
Like the floor is uneven or something. Right?
The floor is definitely uneven, but we don't want that to continue to sink. So we've got to get that taken care of.
Fix it up. All right. We'll have more from Steve Board in a moment. Richland District Superintendent joining us here on our morning show visit today. We're back on the morning show from WRCO Radio. Sounds like a little bit of computer. You probably don't have those in your line of work where something goes down all of a sudden.
We have a great IT staff, and they are on top of it all the time. But just like any organization, we still have internet or computer glitches from time to time.
All the time. It's very noticeable in our business there. So
yeah, I bet. There's a lot of dead air. If my internet goes down for 5 minutes, I go down and get a soda, But you impact a lot of folks.
Yeah, we're back. So anyway. Well, let's talk a little bit about that. One of the news stories that I saw this morning on the morning show, or the early morning show, was, so many schools go into referendum. And you guys are very fortunate, obviously, to pass yours. I know it was very close, but one of the schools was Mauston, and they were talking about that, and they've now had 2 referendums turned down. And, the reality is it's not just a scare tactic, that we're going to have to start cutting some things here real soon.
Yeah, again, I'm so fortunate that our community supported us in April, and I know that statewide in this last presidential election, referendums for the most part were fairly successful, I think, but there were a lot of referendums that failed, and a lot of operating referendums that failed. And again, not to get into a political thing here, but I think it's very well known that the state stopped funding schools as they should have back in 2009, 2010, according to the statutes. And it's just, they've been behind times. There was an influx of money during COVID and the ESSER funds and things like that. And I think a lot of schools were able to use those funds to continue to survive, push off referendums, things like that. But then they reached this financial cliff, when that ESSER money dried up and it was no longer coming in, because there truly was one-time money. Now they're faced with some really, really tough realities, and at a time where there's high inflation, and the cost of living is so much higher than it is really difficult for families to try to have to decide between supporting schools, which is ultra important to making sure that we're educating our youth and preparing them for the future, and also the impact that it actually has on a family's pocketbook on property taxes. So very fortunate that our local community passed both our operating referendum and our capital improvements project back in April. We're well underway, but I certainly do not envy schools like Mauston, Prairie du Chien, Platteville. These schools, have had not just one but multiple failed referendums. Riverdale, I think, has tried to get it on a couple times, and I just wish them the best, and I'm hoping that they can find ways to piece it together and continue student learning.
So looking ahead, your district is now pretty good to go for the next few years then?
Yeah, we should be. Obviously, we don't have money coming out of our ears. We certainly can't do everything, right? I don't want anybody to get that. But we certainly can maintain the staff that we have. We're offering competitive wages, not just to our teachers, but our hourly staff. In fact, last night at our personnel meeting, we had done a wage study for our hourly employees, and our hourly employees were significantly higher than a lot of not only the local schools, but a lot of our private sector in similar roles. And so that was great to see that we're able to get those folks as well, because it really does take an entire community of staff to make education work. Our teachers are kind of that front line. They're delivering the education, but if we don't have students properly fed in our meal programs, we don't have classroom aides being able to support students that need that, we don't have clerical or maintenance or custodial people to keep our grounds and everything running smoothly, they're all so vital to the success of an organization. So knowing that our wages are high, that's great, or competitive, I should say. So we should be good for the next 4 years, right? We knew that we were facing declining enrollment that would kind of level off or plateau here after the 27-28 school year. Our initial Friday enrollment numbers for this year were great. They were actually higher than last year, which was fantastic. We've continued to gain students even since our third Friday count, and we're continuing to enroll more students, and we're welcoming them and happy to be a school that they're choosing and hoping to provide some experience for them. So, and then we've got the capital side where again, we're not building a new school. We're not building a new wing. We're just really getting a lot of stuff fixed. A lot of things that our budget has not been able to allow us to get fixed. And some of it is, to be able to provide consistent environments, like getting climate control and HVAC components in our primary school and our intermediate school. We've talked about the air conditioning, and there are hot days in August and in September and in May and during summer school, and we want to be able to keep our students and our staff in a situation where they can learn, right? Nobody can sit there and learn when it's 90 plus degree heat index and just super high humidity. That's not conducive to a good learning environment. But also the safety component, our bus loops at the primary and intermediate school are problematic. And so one of the things that has been finalized now is a bus loop at the primary school where we can get all of our buses on site at the same time. So instead of having these waves where half of our buses are at the primary school, half of them are at the intermediate school, they're each picking up students, and then they flip-flop and swap and pick up the other half of the students before going up to the high school, which can accommodate all of our buses. Now the plan is to get all of our buses be able to accommodate at each of the buildings. So again, primary school being done next spring or next summer, we'll be able to accommodate all of our buses, have a dedicated area for parents to park and get out of their vehicle and walk their students into the school, because that still happens at that level often, and that's great. But also a dedicated area for families to simply pull up to the curb, and their students can get out if they feel comfortable, and they can walk in. And have a dedicated area for our buses, to have all 21 of our buses there at one time, to be able to have one load, maybe not necessarily one unload, because the buses don't always arrive at exactly the same time. But I think it's going to be a much safer for our families, much safer for our students, much more efficient for everyone, and it should allow us to be able to do some good things in the future as well. With all of that, just some initial update numbers. Our buildings and property approved some bids, 14 different bid packages last night at their committee. With the scope of the kindergarten classrooms and the sinking classrooms, what we thought affected 2 classrooms ultimately affected 4 classrooms. So there's 4 classrooms that are, 2 of the walls are getting tore down and rebuilt next summer. That scope doubled in size, going from 2 to 4, and getting this bus loop configuration the way we needed it to be safe and efficient. That entire scope ended up being, we were projecting about $1.5 million over budget. We knew that we had about a $900,000 savings from completing the high school roof. That came in under budget significantly. We had that bid locked in. So we knew we had some savings, but we really didn't know when these bids came in if we were going to have to try to find ways, or where we're going to sacrifice to make up $500,000 or $600,000. The bids came in last night, and they were really, really competitive. We had good bid results, and we had really competitive bids. And so what we thought might be $1.5 million was actually only about $400,000 over budget, and so our roof savings certainly covered all of that and then some, and we haven't even dipped into our contingencies. So the primary school being the biggest unknown in this entire project, knowing that is bid out and that we're solid from a budgetary standpoint, that's super optimistic, and it may allow us to even get some more projects done with that savings. So we're excited about that, and we're happy about the referendum, and again, happy that the community has supported us in this.
No doubt. Well, let's try it again. We'll take a break and come back with more in a moment here from Steve Board on WRCO's Morning Show. It is our monthly visit with Steve Board as we check out all the things going on in the Richland District, behind the scenes and at the scene and everything that is going on. School board, you mentioned that as well, but you're always encouraging those interested to run for school board, Steve.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a 7-member school board. We have a wonderful school board, but we always encourage anyone who's interested in maybe running for a school board seat or considering it, to either get the information, come and I'm more than happy to meet with them. Laura Steele's more than happy to meet with them, talk to a school board member, see what it entails, come to a board meeting, watch a board meeting on Zoom to learn more about it. But we want community involvement. Again, we have a public school. This is not my school. This is not any individual school. This is our public school, and the public school is owned by the public, and our public should have a say in it. And our community members have their biggest voice when they're representing our school on our school board, and they can help really drive outcomes and vision for our school district. It's my job as a district administrator, and our administrative team and our teachers and all of the staff that we have under everyone. It's our job to find ways to get to that outcome, right? But it's the school board's job to really establish what are the outcomes we're looking for, what's the vision we want for our school, and those should be representative of our community. So with that, every April we've got school board elections, and this is the time of year when we start talking about it. We have 2 school board seats up for re-election. Our area, out of city area to the west, right? So non-city limits and to the west. The townships to the west of Highway 80, for the most part. We can get you the exact information if anybody's considering that. That area is currently being held by Aaron Unbehan, our board president. So anybody in that area could be interested in running, as well as the seat held currently by Neil Huntemer, which is a city seat. So it's not by wards. If you are in the city limits, then you are eligible for that. And so those 2 seats are up for election. And if there's anyone out there that is in one of those 2 areas that is interested, again, you're welcome to come up to the district office or give me a call, and I'm happy to answer information. Some deadlines coming up regarding the election. Paperwork can be turned in anytime after December 1st. So we're getting close to that time. Paperwork can be picked up at the district office. It's relatively simple process, but we're happy to help anybody through it if they need to. There's no nomination forms or anything like that. It's just filling out some paperwork, really address verification to make sure that you reside in the area that the school board seat is needed for. So anytime after December 1st, paperwork can be turned in. Other important deadlines: December 27th is the deadline for our incumbents to file a declaration of non-candidacy. Okay, so if either Mr. Unbehan or Mr. Huntemer are not running in April, they would file that paperwork by December 27th, and then that would be relayed to the new media and news stations. And then on January 7th, that is the deadline for all new people to turn in their paperwork. Okay, so there's a little bit of a week to 10 day period there where the public finds out officially that so-and-so may or may not be running, and then they still would have 10 days to say, oh, they're not running, maybe now I will run. Okay, and so January 7th is the time that they would candidates would file to be on the ballot, and those documents have to be at the district office. That's a Tuesday by 5 p.m. And then if there are more than 3 or more seats, people on the election, then we would need to have a primary in February. If there aren't, then it would go straight to the election, and that spring election date is April 1st. So again, encourage anybody to get involved, be more aware, and even if you run and you don't make it, or you learn a little bit about it and decide not to run, that process is really healthy for people. We want informed people. In my 2.5 years as superintendent, I've tried to get a lot of information out to the public, joining the morning show, doing different things like this, trying to be very transparent. We want our public informed, and we want them involved in the vision of their public school, and this is one of the ways that folks can do that. So pick up paperwork, turn it in by January 7th, and either a primary in February or a spring election in April.
This is American Education Week, and I know that's a nationwide salute, but are there some things in the district that you do to recognize that?
Yeah, so we do a few different things throughout the course of the year with Staff Appreciation Week in the spring, and which used to be Teacher Appreciation Week. During American Education Week, really just trying to recognize everybody and really making sure that they know. And I guess I would take this opportunity to just thank, a time of Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving, but also recognition to just thank everybody that's involved in education, right? I mean, not just the Richland School District, and I love the Richland School District, and I love all the wonderful folks from our teachers, are certainly the front line. You know, they're right there interacting with students every single day, not just in academics, but in life skills and getting them ready for college and careers or moving on to the next building, and social skills. And there's so much importance in what they do non-academically in their interactions with students, but all of our adults in our buildings, our aides, our administrative assistants that help out in the offices, our food servers, our cooks, maintenance, custodial, IT, nurses, our admin, all of our coordinators, and then also a special thanks to our parents, right, and our students, because learning doesn't stop or start when they come on school grounds. It's a continual process. It happens, and parental involvement is so important for student success, right, academically, especially at the young ages, but through all ages, right? Reading to our children, listening to them read, having some accountability in making sure that homework is done, asking them if they have questions on it, and just interacting and having your child know that it's important to you as a parent makes it important to them as a child. And so, again, just kudos and thank you and special recognition to the folks at the Richland School District, but all of our surrounding districts and anyone in education. You play such a vital role. Sometimes education can become political. Sometimes it faces things like referendums that we just talked about, and school districts are forced to make tough decisions and cuts and things like that. Sometimes it's at the state level, a lack of funding, those kinds of things, but it doesn't change the root of what we're trying to do and what all people in education are trying to do, and that's to provide a quality education in a safe and secure environment for our students. And I don't take that lightly. I don't mean to get on a big soapbox here, but just so proud of everyone throughout our city and our community, but also our area in CISA 3, throughout the state, Midwest, and the nation that's involved in helping to educate our future.
I know we talked about this last year during the program, but I know there's a real focus in the district to try and make sure that students connect with a staff member, whether it's a teacher or food service or bus driver, whoever it is. And has that been successful?
It has. Last year we did 3 surveys. We did a baseline survey at the beginning, and then we worked on progress in the winter, and then did another one at the end of the year. And we had 100% success rate that every single student in our district felt comfortable to and connected with at least one adult in our school district. And these were surveys that our students filled out, no pressure or anything like that. They filled them out. So that was great to hear, right? It's great to hear that every student had at least one person that they could go to should they need to, right? Whether it be help with the homework, maybe it's an issue that they're having at home, maybe it's something they saw, maybe it's something that's happening to them, maybe it's just something that they're feeling. Any of those things, to feel comfortable to go and talk to an adult. We are trimming it down this year to just 2 surveys. So we'll be doing one here shortly before the holidays, and then again in the spring. And that was just because we heard students say we did this a little bit too much, right? We got a little survey fatigue. We replaced that with we're trying to get feedback from students on their experiences in the classrooms, right? Specifically, so if you think about your college courses, at the end of every college course, you got to do a course survey, right? Did you learn? Did you like this course? Did you like the instructor? Did you like the way they delivered information? We're trying to mimic that. John Hattie's an expert in school education, or in education and research. And so we took his classroom survey. There's about 12 questions on there, and we're having all students, starting, I believe, in grade 2, all the way up to grade 12, quarterly, provide feedback on their teachers, right, and their educational experience. I think that's going to be valuable feedback, and our staff are embracing the idea of, like, if I'm not connecting with a group of students because they learn better in this way, that makes me more conscious as a teacher to provide more instruction in that manner, right? Maybe you've got a group of students that are really, really visual learners. Maybe you've got a group of students that are really more hands-on. Maybe you've got that maybe are more note-taking and lecture-orientated. And so knowing a little bit more what our students are wanting and needing and how they're absorbing the information that's being delivered, and also being cognizant of developing that relationship and that connection with those adults, I think is valuable. And I think that we're moving in the right direction. We needed data first, right? And if we don't really know what is the problem that we're facing, it's hard to make changes. Knowing that we've got good student connection, we don't want to take that lightly. We want to continue to have 100%, but we want to also get a little bit better data as what's happening in every student's daily life, right? Like what's happening in their school and their different classes. Why do you do well in English and not math? Is it because you don't like math? Do you have a disability with learning math? Or is it just the way the instruction's being delivered? And so by gathering a lot of that information should really continue to help us develop better ways to connect with students and to deliver content in an engaging way. That's ultimately what we're trying to do. We're not shoving information down their throat. We shouldn't be. We should be trying to find ways that the students can connect with the learning, right? And find ways that they're excited about learning and excited about education. That's what we're trying to do in our alternative education programs that partner the RC program, our off-campus alt-ed, those kinds of things, but also now trying to do that within the classroom so that we can really meet the needs of every student where they're at.
Has the partner school opportunity, has that gone well? I mean, I know you're up in numbers there.
Yeah, the partner school has gone really, really well. All of our alt-ed programs have gone really, really well, and just reinforces the idea that students learn in different ways, and we can't force them to learn in those traditional ways of sitting in your seat and following rules and then go to the next class and do your homework and rinse and repeat. We have to be more cognizant of how students learn, and those alternative schools in general have gone really, really well. We intentionally had to grow them small, or we started small and grow them slowly so that we could figure out because it's new, right? It's new and we don't know what obstacles we're going to run into, but we've got great staff in place. Partner school in particular, we started off with 12, we're at 25. We've now got a classroom aide there as well. We've got a waiting list continuing, and we just think that that's going to continue to grow. But our other alternative education options are really solid as well. We've got the RC school at the primary school, intermediate school, and the high school, where students can be in a little bit more of a less stimuli environment, a smaller class size, right? A smaller group, maybe less transitions, less interactions, but they can just really focus on their learning and get that little bit more, not necessarily one-to-one, but a little bit more attentive education as well. So I'm happy with all of our education options and looking forward to see where it brings us.
As we drive into the school, we're going to notice a new sign. Can you tell us about that?
We are. Yeah, you are. So on Monday, this has been about a 2.5-year project that the school district's been undertaking, some new signage, interior and exterior. If you've been in our buildings, you will see some new interior signage, directional signage, helping people navigate where to go, both in English and in Spanish. Especially our high school, right? It's such a big building, and people new to our building, whether it's a 7th grader on the first day of school or a parent during parent-teacher conferences, like, where's the English hallway? Now we've got some good directional signage. We're putting some tweaks on that yet, but also some exterior signage, right? And so anybody who's went to the primary school or the intermediate school knows that the old names, Doudna and the middle school, are still on the exterior portions of those buildings. That signage will be updated here in the near future, hopefully by Thanksgiving. Our high school, the softball and baseball scoreboards went up last summer. The plan had been on the back of the softball scoreboard to get a new sign. That went up on Monday. Electricity got installed yesterday. Last night was the first night it was illuminated. It really looks nice coming up Hive Drive. Just a well-lit sign and just a beautiful sign. And we're proud to say welcome to the Hive, Richland Center High School, and nice entrance. But again, that signage will be happening at all of our buildings. It's been a long project, and we're looking forward to bringing that to an end.
Well, we talked about Thanksgiving. It won't be long, the Christmas break. When do you get out for the Christmas holiday?
Yeah, so again, part of the benefits of having the early releases allowed us to add some additional days of being off or whatever. And so on Monday the 23rd, in the traditional calendar, we would have had to bring students back on that Monday the 23rd, which is not everybody knows that's not going to be a day where there's a lot of learning being done one day before break on just a single day. So we were able to give the students a day off. So their last day will be Friday, December December 1st, and then they will have off and come back on the Thursday, Friday after New Year's and have a nice long 10-day weekend or 10-day break, maybe 11-day break. And of course, we've got the spring break at the end of March for families to plan vacations. Encourage families, if they're going to take vacations, try to do it during those long breaks so that students aren't out of school for an extended period of time. But yeah, it's right around the corner. It's hard to believe we're at Thanksgiving. It's going to be December here shortly, and 2025 here before we know it.
When you come back in December, you may have a deer story for us.
I sure hope so. Yeah, and I hope it was one that ends with it being in my pickup truck.
Right. Good luck.
Thank you.
You bet. Steve Moore joining us, Richland District Superintendent, on today's Morning Show.